I saw this movie a couple days ago. I've been busy the past couple days, but now finally getting around to reviewing it for you guys, and I'll tell you right up front, I'm not totally in agreement with the critics on this one. I'm John Hayeck, and welcome to my movie thoughts. The Happytime Murders. This movie's directed by Brian Henson. He's the son of Jim Henson, the guy that founded the Muppets, the people that told us to instill happiness and joy into the world and to just be the most pleasant people we could be. This movie isn't exactly like that. Brian Henson's kind of taken the reins out from what his father set up. This movie doesn't have the Muppets or the puppets, or these puppets are stylized to be like Muppets, but these puppets aren't exactly being pleasant and joyous and nice all the time. These puppets are a bit vulgar. They say some things that you wouldn't expect puppets styled like the Muppets to say. These puppets are doing some things you wouldn't expect to see puppets doing in a movie. And this movie centers on Phil Phillips, who's a private investigator. He's on the trail of this murderer who's going around and taking up members of the Happytime gang. Happytime gang was the show that was on like the 80s or 90s. It really integrated puppets into the society. This society where puppets exist and where humans exist and where they kind of coexist. Puppets are kind of treated like second-class citizens in the society. Humans don't exactly respect the puppets all that much, but with that said, Phil Phillips now needs to reteam with his human partner from the detective force, that's Melissa McCarthy in this movie, and track down who is killing these members of the Happytime gang. All the while, we have some laughs, we have some private investigation, we have some jokes that land, some jokes that don't land, and overall, what I would say is a pretty enjoyable movie. Again, a lot of the critics are kind of massacring this movie, saying it's not all that good, but I think this movie actually has a lot to like. And first, Phil Phillips, I think, was a solid lead for this movie. It's marketed as Melissa McCarthy's movie. Joel McHale is in the credits for this thing as well. He's in like 4 scenes in the movie. He's funny in the movie. Melissa McCarthy, she's pretty funny in the movie as well. But Phil Phillips as a lead, you feel his pain. You're like, alright, we've seen the Lost Detective story a bit before, but you understand why he's in this case. You're rooting for him, and I really rooted for him over the course of this film. I'll get to quote it. His chemistry with Melissa McCarthy I thought worked really well. At first, they're kind of at each other's throats, and then they kind of grow to love each other over the course of the movie. Again, cliche stuff you've seen before, but stuff that I think is executed in quite a good way. And I think that this movie overall does work in terms of the mystery story that it's telling. I've complained a lot in recent memory. I'm like, oh yeah, I saw the twist in this movie coming a mile away, or oh yeah, I saw who the killer was coming a mile away. Because I usually can never predict the twist, but in recent memory, I have predicted them quite often. This movie, I couldn't tell you who the killer was until we got probably like a half hour from the end of the movie. Then I'm like, oh yeah, that all adds up now. I get it. Like, the movie kind of guided me along to a point where I'm like, oh, now is when I'm supposed to start getting, but I wasn't guessing the killer right up front. I was letting things kind of progress, and I'm like, yeah, where is this going to come into play? So I was along for the ride of the mystery and kind of, how it was set up to be this kind of like noir parody type of thing, because they do address some of the things that noir movies do so often. Like, the characters are always smoking. Like, why doesn't the car get smoky when characters are smoking in the car all the time? I like that the movie kind of parodied the noir genre while also confirming the tropes of the noir genre, which in film class we call a remythologization. Yeah, I got that right. But in this case, I think that what weighs down this movie is the fact that it's also trying to be a raunchy comedy. And like, yes, it's funny to see puppets do like crazy things you wouldn't expect puppets to do. But in this case, I think that Phil Phillips leading this investigation and kind of doing this with Melissa McCarthy and it feeling like it was an LA Confidential or Chinatown-esque movie, but with puppets, I really enjoy that, and I really like them poking fun at that genre. But when they're doing these like kind of dirty jokes here and there, I'm like, this doesn't really vibe with what I like in this movie. Again, I really like the investigation part of it, but I would say the jokes are probably like 50-50 might be a bit generous. I'd say like 45% of them hit and then 55% of them don't hit. More miss than hit. But I will say this, the ones that don't hit, you can kind of get past pretty easily. There's kind of these like throwaway one-liners. The ones that hit are quite funny though. So even though some jokes aren't hitting, the ones that are hitting you remember more of. So I'll tell you guys this. The Happytime Murders, it has a solid lead, some solid chemistry between its two leads. The supporting cast is quite good. It's a little bit predictable in some points, but I really like the parody of the noir genre, and I liked following the mystery along with it. I like that it was a noir that could make fun of itself. The humor is a bit hit and miss. I think some of the jokes are really good. A lot of the jokes aren't quite that good. But it's a movie that overall, I'm going to say you guys should see. If you don't wind up seeing it in theaters, that's totally fine. You're not missing out on a ton. But definitely watch it when it comes to Showtime or HBO or Netflix or wherever it winds up coming to. And until then, be sure to let me know what your guys' thoughts on the Happytime Murders are in the comment section down below. You guys can go over to mymoviethoughts.com, follow me on Twitter at JohnMake, and subscribe to the YouTube channel for tons more posts from me. Links to all 3 of those in the description down below. You guys can also like this video, comment on it, share it with some friends. I am John Hayeck, thank you guys so much for watching.